Hey everyone. In this video, I'm going to be going over my process for late fall and early winter cleanup in the greenhouse, as well as giving a little bit of a background about myself and my bonsai journey to this point. In late fall and early winter, I like to go in the greenhouse and all the leaves that are about to abscess and fall off the tree, I just like to give them a little bit of a boost and just finish that process off. And this allows me to be a little bit more hygienic in the greenhouse and reduces the areas where pests can overwinter, and it also allows for increased airflow through the canopies of the trees to reduce the chance of spores taking hold and things like that. It also allows me to better control the humidity environment in the greenhouse, because if all the leaves just fall and are on the floor retaining moisture, that obviously reduces my ability to dry things out when I want to. Right after leaf drop is also a great time for wiring your trees because the twigs are still flexible, but the leaves are gone, or mostly gone, and so you can see the structure of your plant and get a good idea of where you want the movements to go. So going through this process now gives me a good pulse on where I should start with my wiring activities, maybe some idea of what trees I actually don't want to wire during this fall. And here's the aftermath after knocking all of these leaves off. You can see in some areas it's quite significant amount of leaf litter. In other areas not so much. But it's good to just go ahead and do this in more of a controlled way, because you have to be fairly controlled in the greenhouse. Things can get away from you quickly. Inevitably, going through this process, I'll notice things that I missed, such as on this Trident maple, I missed removing this wire that I had applied in the summer. If I hadn't noticed this and gone through this process, this wire could really dig in and damage the tree. Another thing that needs to be done is identifying trees that are being grown out, but that will be too tall in the spring once they leaf out and would be immediately impinging the roof of the greenhouse. Though most of my trees are in the early stages of development and need to be grown out, I have to take a more controlled approach just because they need to be overwintered in my greenhouse, and the roof is 7 feet 6 inches tall. Now that all of the leaves that were just barely hanging on have been knocked off, and I've taken care of a couple of other tasks that needed to be done, I am going through the process of just cleaning up all the leaf litter off of the pots and off of the benches and the top of the soil, and just getting everything a little bit more hygienic. I got my first bonsai trees when I was about 12 years old. I was in the car with my parents, and I happened to spot a bonsai vendor on the side of the road, and they were nice enough to take me and speak to the gentleman selling them, and bought me a few trees, and it was really fun for a while. But I was just a little kid, and I eventually learned that the trees that the vendor was selling were ground covers. They weren't left to their own devices, they wouldn't grow into a full grown tree, and that's what was really what I was interested in and amazed by, was they could be trees. But I didn't have trees, I had ground cover, so I actually let them all die. And then I did not get back into bonsai until I was about 18. My wife likes to use the leaf litter from the bonsai in her garden for both insulation and the nutrients. that they provide as they decompose. I live in southern Colorado and have also grown bonsai in Texas and Oregon. And Oregon was kind of the ideal place to be a bonsai grower, and Texas presented some challenges, but by far I think southern Colorado has been the most challenging. But I have enjoyed growing in Colorado. I've enjoyed learning about the structures that are needed here to protect the plants and building them with my family and just learning all these things that I wouldn't have learned otherwise has been really nice. Alright, so everything's all cleaned up now, and you can tell it makes a pretty big difference to have everything all tidied up and ready for the rest of winter. The next thing I like to do is go through all the pots and find any weeds that are overwintering and go ahead and pull them out right now. And this is kind of a cleanup for weeding that has been done in early fall, late summer. It's important to get rid of as many weeds as possible in the greenhouse because they don't really develop a strong cuticle very quickly and they stay really tender. They tend to really attract aphids, and then once the aphids take hold on the weeds, they'll migrate to the trees. My main focus in bonsai now is to grow trees that are native to North America from scratch and to style them in a way that pays homage to how they actually grow in their native environment. Once these trees are at a good starting point and have a great foundation for further development into bonsai, I plan to release the extras for sale to anyone who's interested. The very last thing to do is to spray for any pests I may have seen. Alright everyone, thanks for watching.